we know what is obtainable in our society, and that is the issue of drug abuse. We know when it comes to the youth, they have inquisitive mind. They want to test everything. They want to, when somebody is doing something, they want to be involved in it. They want to know how far or what that thing entails. And the more reason why they needed to be guided. We all know that when it comes to the issue of drugs are manufactured to take care of some specific health challenges and not to be indiscriminately used. But what do we have? The point is, I don't want to go into names because I would not want to mention names. We know many drugs that are affecting our youth and that will propel them to go into many things that are uncomely. So what I am saying is that the society or the people, apart from the parents, because the parents will have much to do when it comes to the influence on our children. The society also, we have our own parts to play in the lives of the children or the youth, because they are our future. So what we are saying is that, I've moved in the motion, that the issue of drug abuse and narcotics the issue of drug abuse and narcotics is supposed to be checkmated by the people that are saddled with the responsibilities. All the agencies that has one thing or the other, or they have one thing or the other to do or have input into this, should be alive to their responsibilities, so that in the nearest future, it will not be one man to one person or one youth that is mentally derailed, because we know there will always be side effects to anything that we do. An excess of anything will normally affect the society. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I believe the motion is quite very straightforward. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Respected colleagues, the 10th order of the day is a motion on need to revisit women participation in politics in Nigeria. Standing now, Honorable Tayo Oluga. Honorable Oluga is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. My name is Honorable Tayo Oluga. I represent all the people of Kurewali Federal Constituency. I am from Osun State. Mr. Speaker, I would like to step this motion down and be taking some other time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Motion stepped down by leave of the House. The 11th order of the day is a constitutional or bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Polytechnic Orogun Delta State and for later matters. Honorable members will recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 28th February 2020. Honorable Gabriel Alassane Adodogwa will move for the consideration of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable members. Honorable Ado Dogwa is my name. I represent Dogwa to the Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I am from Kano State. I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide for establishment of Federal Polytechnic Orogun Delta State and for related matters, HB 642, as read by the Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House considers the bill as stated, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by our indefatigable, strong, powerful leader, as was called.
Over the motion, say aye. Those against say nay. That's it. The 12th order of the day is a consideration of a bill for an act to establish a National Institute for brackish water fisheries research, Ungo and Andoni for fisheries research, education and cooperative training in Nigeria and for related matters. Honorable members recall that the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 21st November 2019, Honorable Abiante will move for this consideration.
Thank you, Vice Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. Our Jinombe Dagomie Abiante. I represent Anthony Opopo Nkoro Federal Constituency. I rise to move for the bill for an act to establish the National Institute of Brackish Water Fisheries Research, Ngo Anthony, for fisheries research, education, and cooperative training in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 417, be considered at the committee of the whole. This bill was stepped down sometime. We have reworked it and we are bringing it back for consideration. Thank you.
That is not the right forum for this information. Now you are just to move. Thank you. Seconder. Yes, sir.
I represent Ebonyi Ohaku Federal Constituency. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Bianchi. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. The 13th order of the day is the consideration of a report of the Committee of Foreign Affairs on a visit to the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, at New York, USA, and partial oversight of some Nigerian diplomatic missions in USA and Europe. All members will recall that the report was led on Thursday, 12 December 2019. Honorable Yusuf Buba Yakub will move for his consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency. I'm from Adamawa State. I rise to move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on a visit to the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, at New York, USA, and partial oversight of some Nigeria's diplomatic mission in the USA and Europe, and approve the recommendations therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Honorable Princess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, my name once again, Honorable Princess Miriam Odinaka Onoha, representing the good people of Isi Alambano, Onimo Okigwe Federal Constituency. I'm from Imo State. Mr. Speaker, I second this motion, ably moved by my chairman, Honorable Yakubu. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Leader move that the House do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider Bill's report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I rise to move that the House do resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider these reports. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I therefore move.
Deputy Leader second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and my colleagues. Comrade Peter Hozija, Party Cinnamon. I support the motion as ably moved by the Leader of the House that we resolve to the Committee of the Whole to consider reports. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Are you supporting or seconding? Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. House is hereby resolved into Committee of the Whole to consider reports and the reports for the bills.
Members, order. Honorable Siaka. Honorable Salami. Honorable Babangida. Honorable Olubimi. Honorable Danolula. Take your seats.
Respected colleagues, the first bill to be considered is for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Polytechnic Ogun Delta State and for related matters. I invite Honorable Garba Alasan Adodogwa to give the synopsis of the bill.
Concurrency. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members. As usual, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, this is a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a Federal Polytechnic Orogun in Delta State and for related matters, HB 642, presented to us here in the name of the Senate leader, I think for the purposes of concurrence. Mr. Speaker, I don't think I need to lead any long debate on this note, but it is my pleasure to please plead with honorable members to see reason in establishing this kind of educational institutions across the Federation, especially in the area of polytechnic education, in the area of education that is contained within the curriculum of polytechnics, where our youth will be engaged in what you call like technical educations. And doing that will provide a lot of opportunities for our youth to be self-employed, not only waiting for government employment. I think in my view, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, honorable members, this is a bill that is worthy of our consideration, is worthy of our concurrence, and in the spirit of the bicameral legislature, I feel the bill should not take any longer time for it to be passed. That is my take, Mr. Chairman, honorable members. I plead we concur and take the bill as presented. Thank you.
Thank you. Question now, those that in favor of clause 1 start part of the bill say aye. Clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, yes, sir. That's why I pause. Twenty-six, 27, 28, 29. Schedule. Long title. Respected colleagues, the second bill to be considered is for an act to establish the National Institute of Brackish Water Fisheries Research and Ngo Andoni for Fisheries Research, Education and Cooperative Training in Nigeria and for related matters. I now invite Honorable Abiante to give us the synopsis of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my distinguished colleagues. This bill has been here before, has gone through this stage, and some obvious issues were raised. We've gone back, we've looked at them, made the necessary corrections and the inputs, and we are here again to urge us to look at it and give it consideration, because it has the potential to improve the economy of this country and contribute to our foreign exchange. Thank you very much.
My prayer is that the necessary correction has been done. That's all. Clause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, there will be a conflict in 15. Because we are asking that our budget should be presented to us within that space of time, September. And then you are given an institution of government to submit their budget by September. So it may interfere with the final preparation of the budget of Nigeria, and you are the one that will have been the authority given from all the source.
In view of the fact that I hereby propose to amend the date to June.
Wait.
In the alternative, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delete September.
Not later than September.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I want to suggest that we delete it, because as far as it is part of the statutory agencies of government, their budgets are through call circulars. So we don't have to ask them to submit their budgets, because the institute is part of the statutory agencies of government. So preparation of their budget is usually through call circulars. So I want to suggest that we should delete it.
All due respect that we provide, that should be a clause to ask them to do that. Their governing council will sit on it, and that may be the only authority for the governing council now to have an oversight before even transmitting to the main organ of the federal government. That provision should stand, sir. Thank you, sir. Remove the no later than September. What is the question? Come up with a very clear court amendment. The institute shall prepare an estimate of expenditure and income of the institution during the next exercise year, and when prepared, they shall be submitted to the minister for approval prior to the. But you see, you have a governing board. It's not the minister that has the authority; it's a governing board. Governing board. Thank you.
I propose that we delete not later than September. Now it will read: the institute shall prepare an estimate of the expenditure and income of the institute during the next succeeding year, and when prepared, they shall be submitted to the minister for approval prior to final submission. Huh? Okay, the council.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion of that amendment ably moved by the minority leader. Thank you.
Yes, where's the motion?
Mr. Chairman, why I'm saying there is a problem with this particular clause is that this institution is not listed under statutory agencies. Now, if it's not listed, there's no way they can send that statement of income and expenditure directly to the National Assembly. They will do it to the normal budgetary process. So for us to now say they should prepare income and expenditure and send it to National Assembly, I think there's a mistake there. So we have to, because it's not a statutory agency, and even the statutory agencies, they were asked to submit their budget through the presidency. So we have to be very careful about this particular clause. That's why I'm saying, even if, for example, we want to amend it, we should say along with Fiscal Responsibility Act. I'll leave it as such.
I quite agree to our observation, but the council normally consider, maybe the language of approval should be what should be expunged for consideration, because they must have oversight over it. If they consider the approval is not vested in them, the approval of making budget is vested in the hands of the National Assembly. I think all institutions have this particular clause. I want to believe so. For consideration. Thank you. Please, colleagues, note that the verbatim reporters are requesting that each time you want to speak, mention your name and your constituency for them to record appropriately. Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 15 as amended. Is it, where are we? Sorry. 15, thank you. 16 as amended. 17, 18, 19, 20.
Your Excellency, when the mover of the bill, my name is Munir Babatan Magundi, representing Kumbota Federal Constituency of Kano State, and Chairman House Committee, Research Institutes and Colleges. I didn't want to take us back, but the mover of the motion has said that he has retracted the bill to go back and look at it. But as a chairman of the committee, with some of these institutions, I'm just seeing this bill. And what I have seen, Director General, why is it that we will have Director General different nomenclature from what other institutions are having? 20. Plus 20. So let it be like what he has said, the minister in charge of fisheries, which is Minister of Agriculture. We have executive directors, so it should not be different from what we have in the country. That is my amendment.
So it should now be a what?
Executive directors.
Instead of?
Yes, like Neoma, like New Busa and others. So,
Honorable Munguno did raise this particular issue that you are raising, and it was agreed that it was going to he was changing the nomenclature to reflect what is obtainable across. And I remember he made mention of Bagao, Bama, and other fisheries institutions. Thank you. If the battery recorders would that one is there. So I think the amendment should be wherever it is the Director General is mentioned, it should reflect Executive Secretary. Director, thank you. Thank you. So, clause 20 as amended, Abby? Thank you. Schedules? Explanatory memoranda. Long title. Abianti. You are lucky. Respected colleagues, the report to be considered is that of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on a visit to United Nations General Assembly at New York, USA, and partial oversight of some Nigerians Nigeria's diplomatic mission in the USA and Europe, I invite Honorable Yusuf Buba Yakub to give the synopsis of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. I'm Yusuf Buba Yakub. I represent Gombe Home Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. Mr. Chairman, on the 12th November 2019, after attending the UN General Assembly, I decided to visit some of our missions abroad. Because when I took over as chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, we discovered with my members that the ministry is in total shambles, more especially our missions all over the world. We receive a lot of reports from our missions all over the world that some of our missions don't even have vehicles for the ambassadors to perform their duties. Most of the buildings were dilapidated. We also receive reports where, like in DR Congo, properties of the ambassador was thrown out on the street because the mission could not pay its rent, or what we call recertification fee. The building was taken over by miscreants and they threw the ambassador's goods outside. We also received reports that in some cases rents are not paid, and school fees of the children of some of the foreign staff are not paid. So it has reached a stage where owners of properties don't want to give out their properties to Nigerians out there. So I decided on my own to self-sponsor myself and go around 10 countries to see for myself if those informations are true or not. I visited 10 countries, Mr. Chairman, and I discovered that all those stories were true, and that in some situations, the situations are even worse than what we are hearing. Mr. Speaker, like in Italy, I discovered that there are independent offices opened by private individuals where the Nigerian national ID card is produced, and also even the visa or passport. Individuals go there to start the process and pay money more than what is paid in the embassy before they are referred to the embassy. And I made confirmations, and the ambassador confirmed the existence of such outfits. I believe those outfits are illegal. I believe they are not recognized by the government from all the investigations I have carried. Mr. Speaker, there are situations where, Mr. Chairman, there are situations where our ambassadors will have to beg other ambassadors of other countries to give them a lift before they go to meetings or other official functions. So the situation is generally bad. So in a nutshell, Mr. Chairman, yeah, like in Kuwait, the ambassador was here himself. He have no official car, and I did not want to mention specifically, but the chairman Agric was aware of that. Even Mr. Chairman, yourself, and Mr. Speaker have visited some other countries, and you invited me to say the situations out there is so bad, situations where you have to personally from your pockets help some of the staff in the missions to meet their daily needs. So, Mr. Chairman, this has become an eyesore and a disgrace to our nation, and therefore, when I came back and wrote my report to Mr. Speaker, he asked me to lay it on the floor even though there was no referral for me to go out on that assignment. But because of the importance of what we have discovered, Mr. Speaker directed we lay the report so that it should be considered and some of the recommendations to be implemented. Mr. Speaker, quickly, some of our recommendation is to give a percentage of revenue generated in those missions to the missions, because you discover that the Ministry of Internal Affairs, that is immigrations, raise revenue through passports and visa. And these funds are not given to the missions to maintain themselves. I also discovered, and so we recommended, that any agency that is being housed by the mission, that is by the embassy, should partake in renovating or paying some of the bills, because there are other agencies that are housed by the embassy, but the embassy, despite the lack of funding, takes care of all the bills for the other agencies. So you will see the tenant living fatter than the landlord, because they don't need to pay any bills and they get fundings from their agencies. In the 2019 budget, Mr. Chairman, there is zero allocation. There was zero allocation for all the missions in the country. In fact, the total capital for the ministry was just about 4 billion, and only 1.4 billion was released. And that 1.4 million released was used by the ministry headquarters for the movement of ambassadors to their various places of duty. So the missions did not get a penny. So I imagine how a whole mission in a country will stay for some years without one kobo capital expenditure. That means they can't change even light bulbs in the missions when they get bad. So we also recommended the PPP arrangement to enable us to rehabilitate most of our missions abroad, because Nigeria have a lot of properties all over the world. For example, in New York, we have a building that is about 34-story, and we're sharing fence with the United Nations General Assembly in a very choice area. But that building is getting dilapidated. The cooling system, the heating system are all rotten. In no far distance time, that building will be closed down because of lack of maintenance. And this building of 34-story, if we can partner with the private developers, they can renovate the building and take some floors on lease and get back their money within some years, while the mission will use some of the floors. In fact, if we maintain our buildings abroad, it can even fund the ministry entirely, because real estate business all over the world is an expensive business, and Nigerian leaders in the past have acquired lots and lots of choice buildings that are now being abandoned all over the world. For example, in Bonn, Mr. Chairman, we don't have a consulate in Bonn now. It has been moved to another city, Frankfurt. The building in Bonn has been abandoned. So buildings like that should be sold, and another building should be bought where the consulate is, because the consulate in Frankfurt is paying a lot of money to rent a building to operate from. So all these recommendations are in the report, and I call on my honorable colleagues to please support this recommendation, so that our foreign missions, our foreign ministry will be in a better shape that it is in now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Respected colleagues, while I share the sentiment of what is the current state of our embassies across the continent and the world. I want to say that this report will require in-depth study again before we take final decision. And I want to beg that, I have reasons like that. First, look at report number 1. You are asking for the amendment of constitutional provisions in terms of what should be to allocate 1.5, whatever it is statutory revenue to the agency. This is a matter of constitutional. We can't do that through mere reports of visitation. Amendment of constitution requires that we go through it. If you want that one to reflect the constitution, we'll go through the normal procedure of presenting bills, having the discussion, obtaining to that. So it's a very difficult one. 2, you have made reference as to what is happening in other clients. I don't know. If you are asking for partnership in terms of having a mission like to give out rentage to non-Nigerian organizations, where we are talking of a PPP arrangement. Embassies are our main source of our own secrecy and other diplomatic matters. How would it look like? So we need input from the security agencies and even the foreign affairs itself. I don't know whether you have had that consultation and if it is tenable. If I will give you my concern, then you may address it. 2, I'm also worried and concerned about Nigerian agencies that they are supposed to be our house naturally. If you have the partner of security agencies, for instance, DSS that work with you on field mission, NIA, you don't expect them to go and rent a new space. It is that place they would be because they are supposed to go there all over under the guise. I'm sorry, we are under camera of foreign staff for some of them. And so when you say you want to charge them, how do you distinguish? Is it the normal practice all over, or we now want to have another elevation? And if you want to have an elevation, what are the consequences of having that kind of elevation? It means then those other agencies too will have to have a line in their budgets to say, in foreign agencies, this is what we are making provision, and you must come here and be passed before it becomes effective. You may pass a recommendation today and tomorrow, because the encumbrances of the law is there, it cannot be implemented, and then we will have not be making reasonable progress. These are my little, and even the last recommendation, I don't know what is obtainable in the Senate. Your committee and other committees, of course, all committees are important. How do we fund them is important. If you say we make provisions for money now and we pass it, as a presiding officer, I want to say that even managing the present committees is not easy. And if that one is done, we may run into troubled water. Thank you. Yes, Honorable Babangida.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Babangida Ibrahim, representing Manampashi, Kapur Federal Constituency from Katsina State. Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, I have a lot of observations. Number 1 observation is on the title of the report. Based on the statement of the chairman, he said he embarked the trip on his own. So the report should read, report of the visit of the Chairman House Committee on Foreign Affairs to the United Nations General Assembly at New York, USA, of some Nigerian diplomatic missions and USA. That's number 1. Observation number 2, why we cannot even take this report, since Chairman embarked on the trip personally, what we expected was for him to present his report to the committee. The committee, his Foreign Affairs Committee, discover the committee members, and this is the outcome of his visitations and whatever. Number 1. Number 2, if there are any observations on the basis of his visit, what we expected is to engage the Ministry of Foreign Affairs also, discover the Foreign Affairs Ministry, highlight some of his observations on the visit, the pointing challenges, the information he gathered during his visit, so that he will hear response from the minister. and other relevant key stakeholders that are related. Number three, just like the chairman has mentioned, you see, the Nigerian Constitution, this money is talking about 1% of the total revenue of the Federation. It's not possible because Ministry of Foreign Affairs is just like any other ministry. So they're under federal government of Nigeria, and they have their statutory distributable revenue. So you cannot classify Ministry of Foreign Affairs on first-line charge for this purpose. Also, number two is observation why he asked them to return. We are all aware there was a lot of fight by even universities and tertiary institutions in Nigeria where they insist on retaining part of the school fees that were generated in the school, and it was not allowed. So there is no way under Treasury single account you allow any mission abroad to retain any part of its revenue for the purpose of this. So what I want to advise is that the chairman should go back to his committee, discuss these findings with his committee, engage the Minister of Foreign Affairs and all relevant stakeholders, and from there he should take the mandate of the committee to proceed and ensure enhanced budgetary allocation for this purpose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name remains Honorable Ludi Godwin Elmelu, and I represent the good people of Anyacho Shimikara Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I think, given your submission and all the observations we all have in respect of this, I don't think we should overlabel ourselves. I will advise the chairman to step down the report so that anything that needs to be done in terms of panel-beating or whatever can be done, and he can now report back to rules instead of us going on and everybody will be talking, we'll be wasting time because we'll have some other oversight things to do.
My name is Munir Babatan. My name is Munir Babatan Agundi. I represent Kumboda Federal Constituency of Kano State. First and foremost, I will commend Honorable Buba, Chairman of Committee on Foreign Affairs, for being pragmatic to do what he has done. Even though I agree with some of the points Babangida raised, but this report, Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, it is beyond even what Mr. Chairman is thinking. He has done a good job. I will even urge the House to pay him all the expenses he has incurred during this trip as an amendment to some of his prayers. And let me give one example, Mr. Chairman. I know in the last 3-4 years, before he's taking the chair of this committee, I give one example of one mission, Sudan. That mission was both during Saradona in a prime area in Sudan now, which is non-diplomatic area. And we are given another site. This one is just about 1,200 square meter. We are given a different site of about 5 to 10 hectares, which is diplomatic to develop and then come up with even the houses of the diplomat and what have you. And I think there was an arrangement by the ministry to dispose that property and inject the money in some of these areas which is diplomatic. So these are some of the things which Mr. Chairman will have to go and look at in depth so that we'll come up with a comprehensive report. Like the Egypt, like the Germany is talking. The ministry wants to implement some of these things, Chairman, to see that this is the way the embassy will be funded and will be more pragmatic in solving some of their problems. I think there are a lot, Mr. Chairman. I will also agree with the deputy leader so that we'll go back and look at more in-depth on this report so that we give more input to what you are trying to do so that we can have a holistic solution to the country's mission, so that once and for all we solve this problem. As for the 1%, we must find a way. We must find a way, even if we will go outside the constitutional provision, to make amendment to find a solution to this issue the chairman brought. We must do that for our mission. So this is my submission, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You are a lawmaker. I suppose you are not going to be a lawbreaker. When you say even if we were to go outside the constitutional provision, yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues. I am Musa Sarkinadar. I represent the very good people of Gadag, Federal Constituency. I'm from Sokoto State. Mr. Chairman, I felt obliged to share my concern on this report, and I totally agree with the submissions of Honorable Babangida and Honorable Ndudu Elumelu. But the effort the chairman has put in is what agitated me to support him, so that he will not be discouraged. We are not throwing away the report because we do not like it. He did a very good thing by being proactive to initiate this. It's only that he has some missteps. He didn't follow the procedure as he's supposed to. Meanwhile, next time he's bringing the report, he should go and do and consider most of the recommendations given by our colleagues here. I have an experience with two of the embassies outside the country since 2009 in Nairobi, Kenya, where I went to supervise election. Then they told us they had been owing rent for 3 years, and payment of the school children for them for 4 years were defaulted. So if at this time again this problem is still there, then we need to redeem the image of Nigeria. It's not only about the people that are working there, but the image of Nigeria is at a serious stake. People will not take us serious when you cannot pay your obligations, school fees of your children, of your staff that you have posted there, and also the rent of the offices that accommodate your offices and residences. Now almost 10 years after that. So it's something that of serious concern. We should consider it. And for the way to fund the foreign missions outside the country, we should put our heads together and see how best we can do it, and immediately. It is either Nigeria should reduce its commissions if it cannot meet their obligations, which will not be good, because now some of the missions are covering about 5 countries. My brother, Sahabi Sagada, is the Nigerian ambassador to Nigerian High Commissioner to Tanzania. He's overseeing about 4 other countries. And I know the lamentation has been telling me. He's an old man of about 75 years. He wouldn't want to say it, but he's telling me as a brother the challenges and the shortcomings they are having. One, the president of Tanzania is very much interested to build strong relations with Nigeria as a community. He has invited President Buhari to visit him. Now more than 13 months, reply has not been given back to him. And Tanzania have relocated its capital from Dar es Salaam to a new city, just like we have Abuja here. They allocated acres of land to every embassy. All others have moved to that new city. Nigeria have not even fenced the acreage that is given to it until today. And they have been writing to Nigeria that it's a must. Every embassy must move to that city. So this is a series of serious concern. Let us not allow other countries not to take us serious. We are saying we are the giant of Africa, but we are failing in meeting simple obligations of housing our missions outside the country. So, honorable colleagues, I would like us to, Honorable Buba may decide to withdraw this report for now. Next time if he brings it, please let us support this. And all of us will be proactive by giving him personal advices of how to come up with new proposals that can pass through this house. I thank you very much for this. Mike.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm actually Ibrahim Al-Mustafa Aliyu, member representing Wurno Raba Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Sokoto State. Mr. Chairman, I'm from Sokoto State. Well, to a certain extent, Mr. Chairman, I think I will follow the established precedents by thanking the Chairman House Committee on Foreign Affairs for initiating this. It may be out of the procedure, but he has done his best to bring to the fore of this House the problems that these missions are facing. I've witnessed some as highlighted by Honorable Musa S. Adam.
So if there are issues that can improve on the report is what we're supposed to bring out. That's why it is either we continue or we step down. This should be not more contribution. Yes, all of us are witnesses to it. And I would say I encouraged him so much when he was doing, because I was following his postings, all the pictures he was doing. All of us are intending. We have been visiting various nations and we know the precarious situations in all our missions across board. I will tell you, 80% of the countries I have visited so far, our foreign missions don't even have vehicles, official vehicles, which is very, very unfair and bad image to all of us. But it's just that the input of what has brought for us to consider, you don't pass out give out what possibly will not be respected or will not have the test of time. We want a better job, so that at the end of the day, you'll be proud of your report after possibly the implementation. The way out is with the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, for your inputs. It is said that two heads are better than one, so I will step down the report so that we will make more inputs and bring it back another day. Thank you.
Thank you. So you are stepping down. I suppose the other counseling should be followed, so that if it's possible, sit with the committee members again, look at it, and maybe engage relevant others. Slowly, I believe, we'll be out of it in the best of what we are expected to do. Thank you very much. Report step down, but leave of the house. Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable members. I rise to move that the House do revert to plenary and report progress. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, I so move. Minority Leader, approach me.
Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I'm Comrade Peter from Akoko Edo local government area. I second the motion that we refer to plenary to report progress. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Chair.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's a bit. House is about to plan to report progress. Distinguished respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of Federal Polytechnic Ogun, data state and for related matters, approved clauses 1 to 29, the schedules and the long title of the bill. Distinguished respected colleagues, the House and the Committee of the Whole considered the report on a bill for an act to establish the National Institute for Brackish Water Fisheries Research, Ungo Andoni, for fishery research, education and cooperative training in Nigeria and for related matters. Approve clauses 1 to 5. Approve clauses 6 as amended. Approve clauses 7 to 14. Approve clauses 15 to 16 as amended. Approve clauses 17, 19 to 19. Approve clauses 20 as amended. Approve clauses 21, the schedules, explanatory and the long title for the bill. Respected colleagues, the House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Foreign Affairs on a visit to the United Nations General Assembly at New York, USA, and partial oversight of some Nigerian diplomatic mission in Nigeria and Europe, and deferred consideration of the report. Leader, leave for the adoption of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I rise to move that the House do adopt the report as reported in plenary. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I so move.
Deputy Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I'm Comrade Peter Hyunsu MNI. I second the motion ably moved by the Leader of the House that the report be adopted. I so move, Mr. Speaker. Also second, sorry.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. That's have it. Leader, move for the adjournment of the House to tomorrow 11 a.m.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable members, I rise to move that this House do adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, the 4th of March 2020, 11 a.m. prompt. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I hereby move.
Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Comrade Peter Hyunsu I second the motion that the House adjourn till tomorrow 11 o'clock. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Ganagudi.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House is hereby adjourned to tomorrow 11 a.m.